The Healing Rift is the Warlock's most powerful asset, but for the Rift to reach its maximum potential, we have to make a huge investment. Today we're going to look at a build that pushes the Healing Rift to its extremes to see how valuable it really is. Let's get started. To master the Rift, we need to break down its basics, then find ways to enhance it. Without any mods or external factors, both the Healing and Empowering Rift have a duration of 15 seconds and a cooldown of 82 seconds. At its base, your uptime is very low, but with 5 Paragon mods, your Rift cooldown drops to 32 seconds, and that's a huge upgrade. But we can take this even farther with exotic equipment. Most people consider the Stag exotic helmet lackluster, and they're not wrong. But there's a good chance they haven't experienced its full potential. Its exotic perk, Dearly Departed, restores 50% of your Rift energy when you're critically wounded, and when you die, a Healing Rift is placed on your corpse. With 5 Paragon mods and an aggressive playstyle to ensure we're taking enough damage to trigger Dearly Departed, it'll be easy for us to have a 100% uptime on our Healing Rift. The last thing we can do to improve our Healing Rift is use the Stormcaller's Attunement of the Elements. This subclass branch has a passive ability called Arc Soul. Stepping into a rift grants you a small Arc Soul that I like to call the Arc Buddy, which will fire projectiles at nearby enemies. The Arc Buddy isn't a damage-dealing powerhouse, but having extra damage is never something to complain about. Since we'll be summoning rifts and dipping our toes into them so consistently, our Arc Buddy will be by our side throughout most of our encounters. The final aspect of our build is the armor perks. They aren't integral to the build's success or failure, but they're enhancing aspects of it to push it to the next level. On our helmet, we've got Hands On for bonus super energy on melee kills. This effect will compound with the Attunement of the Elements melee ability Rising Storm, which grants bonus super energy, grenade, and melee energy on hit. We also have Impact Induction on our gloves, which again is working with the benefits provided by our melee ability. Finally, on our boots, we have Distribution. Activating our class ability in proximity to enemies grants energy to all of our abilities and our super. Now it's time for the fun part. Let's get into the field and test out the build. Alright, it is time for the testing to officially begin. This time we are doing the Savathûn song, Nightfall Strike. This one can be a little bit annoying in some places to solo, but we should make it out alright because of all the healing from our Rift, and our Arc Soul is going to provide a little bit of support as well. Now, as we move in, we're going to try to keep in mind that I have distribution on my boots, so wherever I can, I'm going to get into close proximity to the enemies so I can trigger the additional effect of distribution to get that bonus super energy and get the refresh on my other abilities. Now our Rift right now is at about 50% recharge. That means it's going to take 15 seconds for it to fill up to max. I'm probably not going to get critically wounded before it fills back on its own naturally. But on the chance that I do, then I'll be able to just summon it right away. And that's the beauty of the Stag and this build. With so much cooldown reduction on our Rift, whenever I hit critical health, I'm gonna have a Rift. The only time that I'm not gonna have a Rift is never. Realistically, I'm never not going to have access to a Rift when I need it, and that's what's really important about this setup. So we've got some Fallen dropping into the area. There's a lot of them right now, so I think I'm gonna pull back and wait for my Rift cooldown just so I can be a bit on the safe side. I don't want to get caught out of position. I don't know if I triggered distribution there, but it's one of those abilities where you try to get it to trigger as much as possible, but if you can't get it to trigger, it is what it is. It's not going to make or break me if I don't get that little extra 5 or 6% of super energy. The Arc Buddy gonna clear out one of the enemies that I missed repeatedly, and that is the beauty of the build in a nutshell. And this is gonna be pretty much the what we're doing this whole time, is just summoning our Rift as often as we can, trying to stay safe. And we're taking a lot of damage even though we're not trying to, but that's just par for the course when you're doing a Nightfall by yourself. So we've got another group of enemies dropping in, and I do have a super available, so I'm going to run over to these guys, throw out a grenade, and then activate my landfall. And then let's float as quickly as possible over to the rest of these enemies, see if we can't get a little something out. I think I'm going to have to pull back because the super's almost done already. We killed a couple of them, no big deal. And I'll just reactivate the Rift here. That heavy shank will definitely shred through us if we try to challenge it out in the open without the healing from the rift. So there we go, we took care of it. Got another heavy shank. I'm not going to push out because that thing will murderize me, but I could just let it hit me a little bit, get some extra energy, just dip right back into cover, activate the rift. Now the arc buddies are going to help me DPS. So yeah, the biggest downside to this build is that the attunement of the elements is not that great, and it mostly is because the super is a little bit lackluster. Storm Trance is not all that powerful. It's great for clearing out red bar enemies, but as soon as you run into something with a shield or a major enemy, then you're going to be there and you're going to waste your entire super on it. But overall, I think it's fine. I think the fact that you have access to the Arc Soul to give you a little bit of extra support and a decent way to reduce the cooldown of your grenades because of your melee ability, it feels nice. And that's all I'll really say about that. Now moving into this next part, we've got some guys up there. That void shield is going to be annoying to deal with our bow, so I'll just switch over to the heavy machine gun, take it out from a distance. I am trying out some slightly different weapons this time. I don't normally use the Trinity Ghoul. You guys have seen a lot of Telesto in my energy slot, and the, what is it called? I always forget the name of it. The loaded question fusion rifle. That is probably my favorite weapon to use when I'm soloing a Nightfall, but I figured I'd try something a little different, change it up, so you guys don't get tired of seeing me employ the same tactics every single build video. Oh, we've got some guys behind us. I'm gonna deal with them before I go to dunk this ball into the spot. This is one of the reasons why this Nightfall is irritating to solo, is that it's very easy for me to die when going to put this biscuit into the basket. Here we go. Nearly died. Alright. This room right here is where things are going to start getting a little bit crazy. Already we're challenging the heavy shank and those two vandals by just activating our rift and going to town. Now we've got a big ogre that's firing at us with his I-beam. I'm going to activate Storm Trance and just tickle him to death. I might not even kill him with this super, but it is what it is. I don't think I'm going to get the kill. So why don't we just slide back into cover so we can kill him from safety. At the very least, I saved a little bit of heavy ammo by doing that. So now we'll just have to pew-pew from the back for a little bit. I can push up here and pop the rift. Now, unfortunately, that Dearly Departed proc did not trigger when my rift was on cooldown. It just activated right before I plopped down the rift. But it is what it is. Our cooldown is already 50% done. So it's no big deal. And Dearly Departed does have a cooldown on how often it can activate, but it's not really long enough that it feels like a hindrance at all. So really, you're going to get Dearly Departed from the stag to activate whenever you need it. Oh my gosh! The Arc Soul saved me. And so did the Rift. So there we go. I think that right there is just perfect. I could end the video right now, really, because that Rift came back right when I needed it. The Arc Soul finished off the target during the Rift animation. That was pretty perfect. Now I'm taking a lot of fire, putting down the Rift, possibly playing a bit more aggressively than I really need to, but it is what it is. It's working. Now we've got a lot of enemies. The captains are gonna be a little bit difficult for us to deal with the bow because they can be very agile, just teleporting around so much. So why don't we try and get up in his face and then shoot him like that. Now we've got another ogre right up on us. Our rift is cooling down, but the ogre, because of his I-beam, we can't really... Oh no, I'm gonna die because I got stuck. Maybe not. This is not good. Alright, let's back off a little bit, throw that grenade. Probably could have stayed on the ogre for a little bit longer, but whenever I'm using Storm Trance, I like to play it safe. Because in general, if you're activating Storm Trance and you're using it against a very large target like the ogre, then there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to finish it off with your Storm Trance. So backing away just before the enemy's dead, returning to cover where you can be safe, that's going to be a better option for you. Oh, you know what? I can use the shotgun. There. Oh, this is not good. Oh boy. Let's pull back a little bit. So really, overall, man, we've seen pretty much everything that this build is supposed to do. It's supposed to give us access to unlimited healing rifts, and that's no. That's pretty much what we've done. We've been activating these things whenever we need them, and it's felt great. It's been very fluid. It's allowed us to go through this entire Nightfall very comfortably. The main weakness again for this build is the subclass itself, and the super. The Storm Trance is not as strong as I would like it to be. I feel like it needs to deal a little bit more damage to single targets, but it is what it is. It's possible to work around the weaknesses of the super. If you are just locking down a single target like an ogre or something, just make sure as your super is running out, you pull back, get yourself to cover, and then plop down your rift as soon as you're out of your super so you can keep yourself alive. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to one-phase this boss because I'm not using a boss melting build or anything like that. So let's just try to survive. We'll plop down the rift, break the crystal. And here we go. Yes. Our rift is cooling down, so I'm going to pull away from that shrieker because I do not want it to melt me. I believe it's closed. Yeah, it's closed off now, so that's totally fine. We can just move out and start dealing with the rest of the enemies. This guy is going to cause some problems. I'm in the red, going to activate the rift. Arc Soul going to take out the thrall that was trying to smack me in the butt. So thank you, Arc Soul, for helping me out. Oof. May have gotten a little bit too aggressive. Thankfully, I had a rift still active for just a couple more seconds, and now that it's down, I can plop it up again. Alright, this knight is being a little bit of a coward. He's just trying to take cover, and he's activating that shield way too often. You, sir, cannot hide from me. And we've gone into the red again. Fortunately, we didn't get the dip before the rift wore off, but it doesn't really matter because it's back again. Another cool functionality for the Arc Soul is that it can very quickly break down enemies that have arc for their elemental shields. So that's another nice thing about it. Alright, the Shrieker is going to teleport back to the middle, so I'm going to pull back and start hammering down on it. Now it's going to teleport to the back of the room. Got more thralls coming at us. Our rift is ready, so why not plop it down? Get those Arc Souls back in action. This next part's going to be a little bit tricky. We're running a bit low on power ammo, so I'm going to try and save it. Taking a lot of damage here. Not enough to go into the red. So we're not going to get the proc on Dearly Departed. Until now. Alright, now we've got the last wave of enemies coming in, and we've got ogres, we've got thrall, we've got a little bit of everything coming at us. It's going to be a bit challenging, but we can use the ad clearing of the Trinity Ghoul to help us out. Ooh, the ogres are pushing up pretty aggressively. Dearly Departed going to activate there. We're in the rift. I should be able to push out and deal with those ogres, but I'll throw the grenade out first to stagger him so he's not firing the I-beam while I'm pushing in, and then we can zap him with our tickle fingers. Now, there's another ogre at the top of the hill that I'm not going to be able to take out, so I'm going to pull back with the remaining super energy and just play it safe. Goodbye. Oh, he didn't die. The Trinity Ghoul is a really cool weapon, but it's very inconsistent. Sometimes the exotic perk doesn't trigger when it's supposed to, which makes it very frustrating. But it's one of my favorite weapons in the game, and I just wish it was a bit more consistent. But it is what it is. They can't all be winners. Now, I would like to kill this thing before it teleports again, but I don't really have the damage to do that. So, it is what it is. Yeah, alright, so the shield is going to activate. We just got to kill some witches, and then we're done. Can I do that? Oh, it's not strong enough. Dunk it, dunk it, dunk it, dunk it! Okay. Alright, there we go. We beat the boss. Well, I guess I spoiled it. This was my first Nightfall completion for the week. But there we go. We did a good job. This is another one of those builds where I don't feel like we need to go into a lost sector to test it, especially because the effectiveness of the build, you don't see it as much unless you're doing content where you're getting hammered. So when you go into a lost sector or just lower tier content and you're not taking as much damage, you don't really feel the power of the stag as much, but you do still feel the effects of having 5 Paragon mods and a Rift that only has a 30-second cooldown. You really get to dump those things out a lot. If you are just doing a normal strike or something simpler, like just you know, running around in patrols and things, play reckless. Be crazy with it. You know, get ridiculous so that you trigger Dearly Departed more often. But if you are doing something more challenging like Gambit or a Nightfall, whether you're soloing it or doing it with a team, play safe, but you know, feel free to take a little bit of damage so you can get your Rift back a little bit faster because of the Stag and Dearly Departed. And there we go, that is our build for today. This one isn't as flashy as some of the other stuff that we've seen, but it is very safe and very consistent. Those Arc buddies were helping us out a lot during that Nightfall strike, and it felt good. There are a few more Warlock builds that I'd like to share, and a couple for the Titan as well, but I have been dipping my toes into the Hunter as well, so I'm going to have a build for the Hunter coming up in the future. I don't know exactly when, but stay tuned for that. Also, in the near future, I'm going to get my hands on Anthem, and I'm looking forward to exploring all the different builds that I can create in that game as well. So if that's been something on your radar, don't worry, it's something on mine as well. With all of that said, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel more than you already do just by watching, liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment, you can head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR and become a patron. With all of that said, the name of the game is Destiny 2, the name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.